Okay, welcome everybody. We're gonna get started with our Park and Rec Commission meeting for Thursday, December 12th, 2024, 7 o'clock. Can I have Mr. Pelayo do our flag salute for us, please? Okay, thank you very much. Can we get a roll call, please?
Chair Flores,
Present.
Vice Chair Reese,
Present.
Secretary Pelayo,
Present.
Commissioner Esquivel has an excused absence. Commissioner Alejandra Flores.
Here.
Okay, meeting compensation disclosure. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, disclosure of compensation for meeting attendance by the Parks and Recreation Commissioners is $75 per meeting. Report on posting. I, Ana Medina, Parks and Recreation Executive Assistant, certify that a true and correct copy of the foregoing meeting agenda was properly posted on December 5th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. as required by law.
Thank you. Okay, if we've all had a chance to look at the minutes, I hope. If there's no changes or recommendations, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I have a little change, just because I brought it up at the bottom of page 1, where talk about the play area being dirty with cat feces. I said cat and coyote. I just didn't want to make it seem like the cats were a big problem because coyotes were eating them. Thanks.
Okay, with that change, do we have a motion to accept that?
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll open up to the floor for public comment.
So this is just general public comment, not for the minutes.
No, just state your name and address and.
Mario
go ahead.
Dominguez Jr., resident of Southgate. All right, so Mr. Costley, you gave us the update pertaining to the Parks Master Plan. We got no takers, and we're going to take another crack at it this month in December. So now I want to know, what is your intention with the splash pad? How are you going to make that project, a legitimate project that our city pursues and have it included on our city's list of capital improvement projects? As you know, that's the prioritized list of projects that the city goes after and pursues and develops. So I was doing a little bit of research and came across this organization called Los Angeles County Regional Open Space District. And I'm on their website and I see our team, their list of staff. And there's a lady here, there's a black lady here. Let me click on her and see if I can get a hold of her. So they have their work number, their work email, and the lady's name is Latrina Phillips. So I get a hold of Latrina Phillips, and I'm telling her, my name is Mario Dominguez Jr., resident of Southgate. Our city's interested in pursuing a splash pad at our biggest park here at Southgate Park. And as soon as I said the name Steve Costley, Ms. Phillips says, "Oh, I know Steve Costley. I know him quite well." So I found out that this organization, Los Angeles County Regional Park and Open Space District, they're the organization that oversees the Measure A funds. And I'm asking Ms. Phillips, okay, so, can these funds be used for the cost of construction for a splash pad? And can it also pay for the plans and designs? And Ms. Phillips says, yes, we have two types of grants, allocation grants and competitive grants. And both of them would be applicable for both plans and designs and the cost of construction for the splash pad. And then I asked her, well, what about cost of maintenance and repairs? Can the Measure A funds can these allocation grants and competitive grants be used for maintenance? And she says, no, we have a special program just to fund the cost of repairs and services for projects that are funded by Measure A funds for the competitive grants, the allocation grants. So anything that gets funded with those grants, they have a special program for the cost of service and maintenance that gets funded and built with the Measure A funds. So this thing is, as far as I'm concerned, is covered. The city just needs to make it a priority and use the Measure A funds. And then you throw in the CDBG funds to go after for the plans and designs. And then in 2026 for the cost of construction. If you guys follow my strategy on how to move forward with this, we can get this done by the end of 2026. So it's just a matter of staying on course and using the CDBG funds, using the Measure A funds. We can do this. But I want to hear from you. What is the plan going forward? Also, we had a planning commission meeting last week, and I want to hear from the commissioners regarding the goals soccer. What is your take? Is it a smart move? Did the planning commission get it right? I'd like to hear the commissioners' take on the goals soccer and they're being permitted to sell alcohol. Did the city make the right decision? And what is your opinion on that matter? That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments?
I saw him messing with it earlier. Cindy Seipert, I'm going to take you back on a little way back trip. Back in 2011, we were talking about putting covers on the small quad and new benches. Steve got the funding in 2012. It was finalized November. They were actually put up and done and ready to go March 2013. At that time, I approached the commission and I asked when were they going to do diamonds 9 and 10. They said hopefully in a year or two. I'm not the greatest mathematician, but this is 2024. And I know that at the last park commission, it was brought up that the benches that were there were dangerous. And I know that they were removed because they were a hazard. Those fields have not had new benches or anything since, I believe Steve said in 1980 at that meeting. And the parents, when they go to the games, there's no place to sit. And the way they did the new fences, without the fence going behind, basically you're sitting on the sidewalk. There is no place to sit. And I know that benches can be expensive. I have this for the commissioners. I looked it up. Each of the benches is $986. So with like $4,000, they could do both fields, one bench on each dugout side. So I would hope that
Bench
they
or
could-
bleacher? Sorry.
the bleachers, sorry.
Bleacher, sorry.
Bleachers. There's pictures, but hopefully they can pass it on to the city council because I don't think that's that much to spend. They haven't had anything in years. 44 years, actually. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other public comments at this time? Okay. Is there an extra one? Pass that to Steve, please. Okay, if no more public comments, we'll close the public comments at this time. We'll move on to presentations, open session items. Number 1, review of goals, performance measures for fiscal year 2025, 26, sorry.
Oh, sorry, 1 second, Chair. Just a quick update for the questions that came in at the open comments, just real quick. 1, yes, we are looking into bleachers. These may be the type of solution. We got to make sure that they get commercial ratings before we can do anything with them. But we are looking into them, and that's why we got rid of the three. What are they out? Well, we'll find out. But we are planning on it. We just got rid of the other ones the other day. So it is something we are going to look into pretty quickly on the whole thing. And as for the splash pad, it is something we are considering across the board. We don't know what funding sources we'll use. We have a lot of our funding sources are dedicated to other things such as roofs and parks and other stuff like that. We have several funding sources that come throughout the city. And as we sit and go through the master plan and through other things, we'll see what are the priorities on it. But Measure A is one of our funding sources, and the maintenance and servicing fund that goes with it is one of the helpful tools that we appreciate greatly because it's one of the few grants that you find that actually comes with a maintenance portion to it that pays for fixing things, which is way different than most grants. just so commissioners know, most grants, when we pick up a grant like they're doing Hollydale Park, Circle Park, all great grants, they give you a couple $1 million, but no one usually gives you any money for after you open the park. Then you got to find the new maintenance guy to mow the lawn, the new guy to do the extra set of toilets that you got to clean. There's work to be done when you're done. So as you build things, you got to kind of factor in the whole maintenance cost of life, which is significant these days. Just trying to fix or replace stuff. So that's what the Measure A funding is, and the maintenance and servicing part of it is. And we don't get it all at once. We get it in quarterly portions. So that's what we have. But now that I've given a quick update on that,
Steve, before you go on, can you also comment on the coverings for Diamonds 9 and 10?
Diamonds
are
9
there
and
any,
10, we
plans
did
for that?
actually talk about it at that time. We actually used the maintenance and maintenance and servicing funds that Mr. Dominguez talked about for the original ones. They weren't actual Prop A, which was the predecessor to Measure A funding. Paul Adams before me and I had a philosophy that it was easier to pay for big items with maintenance and servicing funds than it was to use them for the everyday payment of staffing for things, because it cost us almost as much to put the report together for staffing as it did for the money we got back on it. Whereas we could bundle all of our maintenance and servicing funds. And one of the big examples is we paid for all the shade structures in the small quad with maintenance funds. They let you do that. And so we did that throughout the parks a lot of times. We paid for a number of items. The new playground that is the South Playground near Diamond 4 was also one of those paid for by maintenance and servicing funds. So we used a different philosophy because it made more sense and saved us more money at the time. But we can look at that. We have to check on the cost factors. At that time, we had to spend some of that money, and that's what we chose at the time was that quad. But like I said, we have different funding sources. It all depends what we can use. You know, and I think I've already told this to the commission once. My first priority is putting a roof on the auditorium. Sorry, got to do that one first. After that, we'll look at all the other projects in life, but it's leaking all over the place and I need to put a roof there. But after that, we are prioritizing different projects and we can consider 9 and 10 on there too. We're happy. I believe that our youth groups are happy with the shades that are on the small quad, right? So we could look at the different concepts there in what we do.
And I'm glad you're moving forward with the benches, just out of concern of possible future tariffs, bringing up the cost of steel or aluminum and having that cost increase.
Right. We're like we said, we would have reported back later tonight that Glenn's staff did go out right after the last meeting, look at all the benches, determine which ones were good and bad, and they actually took out two sets of benches that were not safe, unusable. We actually tore those apart on the site, and I think we fixed the third one. No?
There was two on 9, 1 on 10. One just needs the wood replaced. We left that one, did a work order, removed the other 2.
Okay. So that was in comments from the last meeting. We worked on that. But now it's that part, since we didn't originally budget for it, of figuring out where we're going to pay the funding and go from there. It's not that we're not going to, but it's not in our original budget, so there's work to do to it, to get it. And the hope would be figure it out before season starts the first Saturday in May.
So if the ones that were presented to us today are commercial grade, what do you think are the possibilities of getting those at the Diamonds?
Possible. Yeah, we have to bid them. We can't just choose off the top. We have to do bids for things like that, or at least get 3 different quotes. So there's a process.
Sure.
It's if everyone all our commissioners, I think, have seen a lot of the stuff. We've been a little busy in December, going a little crazy, but it is on our list of stuff to do, and we'll get there.
Thank you, Steve. Go ahead.
Start your report now.
All right, back to staff report, item number 1. As we do every year, last meeting in November, we show you our last year's goals and objectives and what we had planned for last year and what some of the things we've done for that fiscal year. You guys give us some extra ideas, some stuff that we put into it possibly or look at. Each year, the Parks and Recreation Department splits out different goals for each of our different areas. We have a lot of different areas. Well, a lot of times we think it's just Sports Center and Girls Clubhouse. It's really golf courses, grounds, custodial. There's all sorts of areas that we have. Those are all listed in your report here, and these are the goals that we're looking at for them, for the different things. And part of this report tonight is to not only show you what we're looking at, but also remind you something we discussed at our last meeting, is that we've already received the concept that we will not be receiving additional funding this year. We will either be static or lose some funding across the board. It's the concept we're seeing for our city at this time for fiscal year 25-26. So the goals and objectives were made with the concept that we have to keep within those budgets. So a lot of staff items are, if it's a normal popular item that we run and we run it well, we're going to continue with it. If there are things we want to add, we have to look at subtracting something else because there isn't additional funding. So it's really more of a navigation of, hey, what are the priorities? What are the new things we want? What are the things that have maybe cycled out for a while? And let me tell you, after 47 years in this business, things cycle in and cycle out. Who would have known people would have went breakdancing again in the Olympics? I remember that from the 1970s, but it was back. But programs cycle in, cycle out. Sometimes we have to, get rid of some of the ones that aren't doing as well, bring in some new ones, make some changes here, but subtract from this. So that's a lot of what you'll see in these goals and objectives. So this is our plan for now, is where we're moving forward with these goals and objectives that you have before you. We would appreciate your input on them. After this point, what we do is we take our goals and objectives as a team and we put financial numbers to them. As I noted, a lot of those numbers aren't going to change financially. It's just how are we going to pay for the different ones. Now, if there are certain items, say splash pads, say shade structures, say bleachers, whatever it may be, some of those items, if they're not bought during this fiscal year, would be put in part of the budget as what we call a supplemental. So we say, hey, we want this. We need it because of safety, because of shade, because of whatever. And it goes through the process of going through finance, the city manager, city council, to see what items that we'll get from that. And, as a typical city, we ask for a lot. Police department asks for a lot. Everyone asks for a lot. And it's not a full bucket of money. So, they take the time and go, yeah, you get this part, you get this part, you get this part. So some of that will depend on what the funding is available for the year. But we put those in. So these are our base programs and where we're going with each and every one of those. So feel free to take a look, ask us some questions about them, and we'll see if we can answer them for you.
Okay, do we have any public comment on these? We do open for public comment this, yeah.
Okay, so I think you all know what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say is, as far as goals and performance, okay, so obviously what I want to see as a goal is the splash pad. Now, you commissioners, you got to push this guy. This guy ain't going to do it unless you make him do it. And, Chair Flores, you're the chair, so you need to really step up here and press him to move forward and getting the splash pad included on the city's list of capital improvement projects. And then the master plan, it bums me out that you'd waited this year, so long in the year, so late in the year to move forward with initiating the process with the master plan. I suspect the reason why we have no takers is because you waited so long. Who wants to do it now this late in the year? I wish you had done it back in May. In May is when you should have began the process. So if it doesn't happen for us with the Parks Master Plan. Could you tell me, what is the next step? Are we going to shelve it and wait till like mid 2025? I imagine so, because, what's the point of putting it out, the bid if no one's submitting proposals? So that's what I'd like to see for a goal and objective for next year, 25, 26, the splash pad and the master plan, and for the commissioners to make that a priority. And then I'd like to say, bring back the LA Philharmonic. I'd love for them to come back again, and then give us jazz. I would love to see jazz at Holidale Regional Park, if you could give us a jazz concert there. And then a question about the Philharmonic. What was the attendance? Was it sold out? Was it fully packed? If you have any numbers on that. And also, what went wrong with the Christmas parade? They referenced it at this past city council meeting. There was some sort of hang up with the parade. If you could elaborate what went wrong with the Christmas parade. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other public comments at this time?
The only thing I have is I know that a lot of these master plans, I've sat through them since the 1980s. And I think right now some of the most important stuff for the park is basic maintenance, roofs, plumbing, the sprinkler systems, things like that. So hopefully that's the stuff that gets done. I know that we could use one more bathroom out by the fields, because there's people that come to picnic, come everywhere, and there's only the one hut right there, and you have to go all the way to the other side for the other ones by the other side of the cookhouse. And if you've ever been there during the summer, just between the joggers, families walking around, games going on, that's not enough bathrooms. So you do need another one, and maybe a water fountain or two. I know we had issues with them before, and they were taken out 2012, 15? No, but I'm talking like by Diamonds 9 and 10 in that area. Those are just taken out. There's no water there. So to me, I would hope that that's where they would put the money in fixing things, the pipes, the roofs, things like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Giovanna Lavorin. I rarely come, so. One thing I haven't heard of any solutions for the Boy Scout huts. Rain is coming again, and I see the tarps, being fixed up there by the parents, or I don't know who was up there last time trying to adjust them, but I know it's been difficult because it's not open to the public, but it's still at our park, and that's still for our kids. Steve, I don't know, do some miracles or something. We've been talking about this we brought it up many times to council as well as to staff about those huts for those kids. Pat is an amazing woman, and I see them always trying to do things with the kids, but those huts are really seem like they're getting ready to fall apart. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no more public comments, we'll close that session. Is there any comments from my commissioners?
I can give a couple updates to the questions asked.
Okay, sure. We'll go there first.
Just for reference, and I'm probably stealing Tina's thunder, but we received on Monday 6 bids for our master plan. And so they were turned in on Monday, 5 and 1 that didn't count. So there. So we're still going through that process, but we did receive 5 of them. So that's a good thing. And like that, as Ms. Seipert knows, the last master plan, the highest priority of the residents at that time, and that was 20 years ago, was the highest priority was maintain what we have, in which we used a lot of that process. That's why the pathways, the fences, and other things have been done throughout the park. We used a lot of that time frames. Shade structures, all that we did as part of that. I could always use money. Whenever there's money, I can use it. That's no problem. It's just managing the money part of it. But we do have We do have proposals on master plans. We will be reviewing those coming up here soon and bringing them to you guys as part of the thing. That's probably the February meeting because we don't have a January meeting, right, Anna? So where that will probably come forward on that. But we are in that process already where the master plan has been bid out and returned at this point. And then as for the Boy Scout huts, Public Works has been doing an overall roofing project that includes the City Hall, the auditorium, and the Boy Scout huts. And they are working on designs for all those roofs. Where that process is at the present time, I am not sure, but I believe the design process is going out to bid for those. So
Wasn't there money allocated for the roofs that had to be reallocated during COVID?
the money for we had CDBG money allocated for both the auditorium roof and the Boy Scout huts. And the community development block grant funding denied our request for those. Because as Cindy noted, or Giovanna noted, they are not open without a fee. There's different rules and they denied our request for those fundings. So we actually bundled that money into what became the fence project later. When we did use those. But they are still on the radar. We're actually looking at a couple other things with that. So the Boy Scout huts are there as a capital project along with, the auditorium roof and the City Hall roof I think they're bundling those together at this time. But we have funding for the auditorium roof so far of what was the original cost. I don't know if that will change, but we have funding for that part of it. As for the Boy Scouts, that all depends on what the funding we have can be used for. So as noted, the first priority is maintaining the structures we own before we build new. And that needs to stay there only because the longer you wait on each one, the more it costs. So those are part of the priorities.
Any other comments? I have a few.
So regarding the design that's going, the process, the design process, you said we have funding for the auditorium, or at least the original cost of that, right?
Yes.
What, when do we expect that to, I guess, be finalized?
I don't know the actual finalization on that one. It keeps getting bundled up with other things. If it were a standalone project, it would be forward faster. But when you start bundling roofs, the designers have to come to a building that was built in what, 19, something like that, to this roof, design this roof along with the auditorium roof was built in the 50s, along with Boy Scout huts that were built in the 60s. It's a large design quest to match them all together, so it takes a much longer time.
Okay.
If it were individualized, it would be a simpler to pull out one and do it, but that's not the process that's currently in place.
Sure. Is it an option to perhaps, I know that there's organizations that use the auditorium and there's no fee charged. Is it an option to maybe charge a nominal fee to attempt to get some funds for that?
That's a different concept. The fee, there's not enough fees that we would charge that would cover that. The roof is going to cost us anywhere from $1.2 to $4 million. So raising
spread.
fees, even if we raise, because you guys get a annual showing of what fees we waived like $600,000 this year, something like that. So even a whole year's of extra fees, if we didn't waive any of them, wouldn't get us to that. Not a bad idea. We still need to look at different revenue sources,
Sure.
but it doesn't really work into the capital ones. Those are much more capital funds that take place either in our capital improvement projects or in our grant funding of looking for specialized state or local funding places. So there are sources. We do, as I said, have auditorium money. It's just the weight on the design process.
Okay.
Any other comments from our commissioners?
Well, related to the agenda item, the report in particular, I had some questions related to the senior services. I see that certain things kind of, some numbers stay the same, like the senior incursion program, the senior food bank. So is that just because of the funding source, like Steve mentioned earlier?
Well, I think for senior excursion, as far as the numbers, we program X amount of trips within that, so we can stay within the budget for that. And then, I mean, for the most part, the buses hold so many passengers, so, and all of our trips sell out
Oh,
every year, so it usually stays the same because they're all sold out. And in order, that's why that pretty much, and then the food, for the most part, we get just about the same amount of people that come in to eat the food all the time, so the numbers are very
similar.
stationary, I guess.
Got it. And then, let's see what other question. The hype video for the adults sports, is that related to
So
just
what-
there's like a hype video on page 9?
For the adult sports?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that just like part of the social media campaign?
Correct.
Oh, got it.
Right. We're trying to upgrade and update our social media. As I think I told the commission, we have a marketing coordinator position. It's currently vacant. And so we're going back out for recruitment for a new marketing coordinator. And part of it is our team, we have a great young team of people, and they want to start making some of the additional social media blasts that can go out. And a hype video is one of those that they want to process through the thing, which is great on some of our part because, well, it takes staff time. There's not a giant cost to a hype video, but it's something that could go out and actually help us promote adult sports.
That's awesome. And for the teen programs, I see that it kind of sounds like it's been a one of the more challenging sides of your programming, and so I'm glad that you're still pushing to increase the participation. I'm curious to see if there's any plans to maybe hire more youth to kind of bring more of their peers in, maybe do more internships. I know there's I forget what the group is, the Latino, what are they called? There's like they usually get funding from us. I would have to email you guys after.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think one of the challenges with the teen thing is that there hasn't been a teen coordinator for some time now. And so just trying to go through the process and hiring, we've gone through a couple rounds of interviews and we haven't been able to secure anybody from those. And so that position also is closed. So in the beginning of the year, we'll be doing some hiring in hopes to find somebody who can take on that teen area or teen programming and a couple other areas.
And just for the commission's knowledge, both Tina and I have specialized in teens before, and we learned a long time ago that teen coordination is not a job about, hey, I know how to run a program. It's I know how to be personable and work with teens. It's a very important thing. You could be the best programmer in the world, come up with the best program in the world, and if you can't relate to teens, they are not showing up at your door. We both know this, and so as we've had to fluctuate staff around and move them, we've had some people that are good at sports or good at fitness or good at some other things, but they haven't been able to connect to teens yet. And so as our new recruitment is going out, we're actually looking for that priority as one of our new coordinator positions, is try to get someone who can specialize a little more in teens.
Yeah, Lisa Baca's group is the person I was thinking of, but there's also, I know AmeriCorps has a couple of internships too that have youth fresh out of high school or that are in college, that I having come from Public Allies and having had most of my peers work with youth, I think it's a good opportunity to maybe once the youth program coordinator gets hired, maybe have, if they do need assistance in the short term for particular projects, I think those are good opportunities. And even to maybe even cultivate another or a future staff person. I know a lot of those public allies end up staying at their, or AmeriCorps people end up staying at their placements for the long term.
Yeah, I think too, it's important not to get people who are too young. Just I worked at a teen center for 10 years of my career, and there is a struggle when you have kids who are still in high school or freshly out of high school working
That's true.
with their own peers, because there's the lack of respect,
Yeah.
and it makes it very difficult, and you end up with other issues along the way. So sometimes finding people who are just a little bit older, a little bit
Mhm.
mature, that can build those relationships and understand the dynamics of working with teens and how important it is to keep that adult teen separation.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, thanks. And then for the golf course too, um, I'm glad to see some of the previous accomplishments. I feel like that's always been one of more underutilized um, areas, and so I'm really hopeful that the participation will increase. I've definitely seen more programming announcements on social media, so I feel like that's always good. And even partnering up with the schools, I think that was definitely a good move to bring in more folks and start cultivating that interest as well at folks in the young age, because it really is it's a good calming sport. And then seeing the disc golf too. I know I've been wanting to buy my own set to start using that, 'cause it's a pretty neat hobby. But overall, I think just seeing the numbers and throughout the previous years, like I keep saying, I'm always impressed and grateful for how much our events, our programs are growing. And I think you guys are doing a good job, and I trust your numbers because I know that you guys know what you're capable of. And yeah, I'm grateful for you all.
Thank you. Steve, I just have a couple of comments. On the Sports Center goals and objectives, like the first 3 things are all about training.
I'm sorry.
All about training programs, fitness programs. But there's other things that go on in the Sports Center. How come those goals aren't on there, like pickleball and
So The
volleyball?
Sports
and
Center
all those
one
other
is
things?
mainly focused around fitness. And then we have like youth sports, adult sports. So you'll see the different sheets, but the Sports Center itself
Yeah,
is
but
focused.
in those, they don't have anything that mentions other things that go on. Just volunteer stuff, and
The-
there's nothing that mentions like volleyball, pickleball, tennis, anything else. So
Volleyball's listed under adult sports.
okay,
And pickleball is one of actually this year's goals, to set up a pickleball court. As you may recall, we had pickleball during the Azalea Festival last year. Remember the glow in dark one,
yeah,
where we had like almost 100 people show up to do glow in the dark pickleball? I'm still not good at it. Whether the lights are on or off, it doesn't matter. I'm not good at it. But yeah, some of that's there, and some of that will be added in as we open up Circle Park, because it will have pickleball courts as part of it. So, but yeah, that would come under the youth sports category for that, no, or the adult, one of those two.
Okay.
For one of those, but it is something we can look at as a priority. Is pickleball? Our city manager would like that too.
yeah. I mean, it's something we've been talking about
Yeah.
for a few meetings now, and so it would have been nice to see it on here as one of the goals,
Okay.
because I mean, it's been brought up several times. So
Right, and we
and
could
it's-
look at adding that because there's more of yeah, we could add that to the 2025, 26 adult one. Okay?
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. And then do we look at, I mean, I know we talked, I mean, even just a couple of times I've been to the JA office and other places around the park, and I see people playing pickleball on the tennis courts. So is there any idea about trying to transform for dual use of some sort?
We are
Pickleball.
looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a funding question, but yeah, we are
Yeah.
looking at that.
I mean, is it something that's possible? I mean,
Yeah,
just from what you looked at, I don't know the dynamics of a tennis court versus a pickleball court. I know what each one looks like, but I don't know their actual shape and, I mean, dimensions, I should say. So,
Yeah, it's actually something we were looking at for this fiscal year to finish.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, again, it would have been nice to see these things on the.
Well, that wouldn't be next year's
Accomplishments.
goals. That would, that pickleball, the conversion is this year's.
Okay.
It's part of it.
But like more events, like you have that really good event, I guess, and then maybe put it out there more, have a couple of more events that could be utilized
Mhm.
and make it a little bit more popular. I mean, I'd like to play it. I just don't have nowhere to go.
Okay.
Everywhere that I see, it's like Orange County somewhere to play pickleball. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to drive over there if I don't even know how to play pickleball.
We will definitely look at those things.
You know, they have one in Long Beach, but it's just the drawing on the floor. You have to bring your own net. You have to bring your own everything.
Okay.
Just to,
We
just
we
to
did
play.
talk about bringing it back like we did last year, something similar. We had the month long every Friday night and let people come out just to learn how to play and to see what the interest was. We did talk about doing that and holding another pickleball tournament again in March for the Azalea as well.
And then for the golf course, is it possible to get some numbers on the golf course? Is it something that's profitable for our city, or is it just something we just keep holding on to just out of nostalgia because we have a golf course in Southgate?
And I think we've had this discussion before across the board. None of our programs are profitable. Just so, not kidding anyone, there's no things. As a Parks and Recreation Department, if we cover 50% of the cost, we're doing great. Our seniors, our teens, our youth don't cover 50%. Adults, if it's a straight adult-based program, we cover programming costs, but not field costs. So none of it actually covers a cost, golf especially on it. We've actually done better. But one of the priorities of a recreation department is to offer variety. As you all know, we could probably sit here and just put 20 baseball fields in and be done, and we would fill all 20 baseball fields. But that doesn't give people who want to play pickleball or people who want to play horseshoes or people who want to play basketball the ability to do that. So we make sure even though we have, not always the most profitable or things like that, we try to keep a variety of programs going so that, as the cycle comes back and golf's popular again, COVID, shoot, everyone played golf. Why? Because it was the only thing you could play, right? But it's one of those type of things that we want to be able to offer the variety so the youth of the community and the adults of the community can try different things and they're not stuck into one area.
And I
So-
think the numbers have really risen recently. They've been in an uptick. I think we have a new gentleman who's transferred over there and is just very passionate. And his passion, along with some of our older staff that have been there already, they've been kind of fusing together. And we've recently held a couple tournaments within the last 6 months that have been successful. The first one was for the first go around. I want to say there was like 30 people who participated in this last one. I think it was like 50 people. So numbers are rising. People are coming back, and we're seeing numbers just increase there on a regular daily basis.
And it's been several years
And,
since we've had 50 people on a straight public tournament
Yeah.
at the golf course. It used to be 5 or 10.
And now that you mention it, so like we have the horseshoe pits, right?
Right.
And I don't see anybody there. So is it utilized? Is it once a month somebody comes and has a tournament there or something? Or
They're
once a
played at
quarter?
least monthly. We have tournaments, a number of tournaments, probably 8 to 10 a year on them. And then at different times, a lot of times more in the mornings, we get some players here and there. So depending on what times you're here, it's a older person's sport right now for us, but we do get different uses. But once again, another option in life for a event where we could clear out space, but
Yeah.
do I need a 11th baseball diamond or not? I need.
Right. But again, this is where you make a decision now that times have changed. Is it something that, hey, pickleball is something that's probably going to be more useful than 8 to 10 tournaments of horseshoes? Are we going to get daily usage out of pickleball courts, or are we going to get 8 to 10 days
Right.
a year of horseshoes?
Right.
You know,
And that's
so
where we look at,
what-
can we
what-
convert
What
something?
direction do we go in? Who starts the ball rolling on making an analysis of this and saying, okay, we're going to make a decision to convert these horseshoe pits into pickleball courts? Because
Well, and
we could
you,
probably fit 4 right there.
Right, you could maybe fit 4 there, but you're also going to spend $1 million to do it. And that's where the priority comes in is, am I going to spend $1 million on 4 pickleball courts? Or am I going to convert 2 of the tennis courts into pickleball? Then I can keep both and it's not going to cost me nearly as much. You know, as some of you who've been here longer recall, hockey rink was a huge thing for, in the 1990s. All of a sudden everyone needed a hockey rink.
Mhm.
We even had the Kings come out and open our hockey rink for us.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah,
On Southern.
on Southern.
Where the-
And then within 5 years, 7 years, by 5 years, it had become an indoor soccer place for the most part. And now it's the picnic place.
Mhm.
So you end up changing some of those. I'm not saying pickleball is going away. Pickleball is definitely not going away anytime soon. And we're looking at that. That's why we're putting the new ones at Circle Park so we could spread out some of our recreation. But we are looking at those.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand that a little bit more and how we can utilize things that are being underutilized versus what would probably be more utilized. I know it costs X amount of money, but
Right.
is it profitable to spend $1 million on that than to spend $6 million on building something else?
Right.
For sure, I'm all for repairs first and foremost. But if we're going to be adding additional things to the park that cost $5 million, $4 million even,
Right.
versus $1 million and something that the community would probably get higher use out of, it would be worth it for me to go down that avenue.
And as we look at different things, and hopefully the master plan comes apart on it, is as a commission, you should know Southgate Park is heavily impacted. We all know there's thousands and thousands of people there every day. So spreading out to Circle Park, spreading out to Hollydale Community for some of our new stuff, eventually to Hollydale Regional as it has plans for stuff to spread out. We get to those so that while it's unique in the whole southeast area, how big our park is there at Southgate Park, sometimes we need to spread our offerings across the whole thing.
True. I had another comment, and I don't remember at this time. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. If there's no more comments, can I get a motion to receive and file?
Sure, I have a few comments. So just on that note, spreading the offerings across some of the parks, what are the plans for bringing more programs, classes, and such to Hollydale Regional? I know that has been mostly, or the focus has always been Southgate Park, right? But I know that Hollydale Regional has the space, perhaps, and I know that a lot of the residents have requested more activities and more classes out there. Are there any plans to do that? I know that there's no facility there, but what are the options in terms of bringing more programming to Hollydale Regional?
Well, as some of you are aware, we have a master plan for the Hollydale Parks, Hollydale Regional, Hollydale Community, and Circle Park. Obviously, 2 of those 3 were accomplishing the vast majority of what was wanted there by the new parks that are going in. Hollydale Regional has at the time of the master plan, a $54 million renovation master plan for the whole thing. That includes a community center, different facilities, and different uses throughout the park, which would bring additional programming and stuff like that. One of those problems is the funding sources on it. As for actual daily activities at it, like you noted, there's no facility there, so staffing is hard. It has been used mainly as a soccer area, is our major concepts over there, which is growing. AYSO is now starting to catch back up to its previous timeframes. For the vast majority of my time here, the JA had the biggest youth programs in anything. It was over at Southgate Park, and they at their peak had 1,200 kids for stuff. As of just before COVID, AYSO had passed those numbers, right? And so soccer is a high priority for them and for the community over there to go with it. But as for individual programming, We will start some of that in the Hollydale area at Hollydale Community. When we get the building open,
Mhm.
we will get some Tot Time programs or Tiny Two. Some of the stuff we offer at Southgate Park, we're going to not move, but offer over there. In fact, we were just talking yesterday, one of the built-in features at Hollydale Community is a movie screen. Sorry. And as we were just discussing, one of our plans is to take the Friday night movies in August. We're revamping those a little, and we're going to have movies one night at Southgate Park and show the movie again at Hollydale Community.
Mm.
So we'll be adding some programming to the area. It won't specifically be Hollydale Regional because lack of facility, but we're going to mirror in some of the programming we have into Hollydale Community.
Good. And so just in general, across the board, the increase that you guys are projecting or planning for some of the programming, what's the plan to do that? How exactly is it going to be? I mean, given that there's no marketing personnel right now, is this something that's going to be done like in-house when people are, I guess, attending classes and having some sort of promotion for them to bring a buddy with them, or what exactly is going to cause that increase in
Well, we'll definitely be including it into our brochures that we pass out. So I know that one of the biggest things was trying to figure out how soon the park would be completed. I'm trying to figure out, would we be starting it in the winter or starting in the spring? It looks like we'll be able to start everything officially in the spring. So as we start putting together our next brochure, it'll all come out through there. We'll also continue to utilize our social media, continue to utilize marquees and things of that nature to get the promotion out there for the community so they're aware of what's gonna happen. And I know even amongst the classes, people have asked, and so we shared with them, soon when we open up the other facility, we'll be having classes over there. And people said, "Oh, good, because I live closer to that area. I'll probably send my kids up over there." So just word of mouth as well. But we're utilizing different things that we can. And,
So the bulk of the increase would come from the new facility, basically. And then also with regards to the social media, I mean, would it be maybe something that could be done where there's some sort of internship offered where perhaps some of the high school students, since I know they're well versed with technology and social media, I mean, perhaps they can help in that regard. Is that something that we can maybe consider?
We could look at something like that. We have a city council that has told us that their priority for bringing in interns is to make sure that they're paid. They have a philosophy of not of wanting to pay interns, in which, as I've said, our funding isn't going up. So
Mhm.
we can find an intern, and if we could find a program to pay for it, we would use them. But right now, as we say the numbers from 24, 25, or if we end up with exactly the same numbers, we're actually going down because everything costs more, right?
Sure.
Costs or staff. In fact, minimum wage goes up January 1st again, right? Which means we lose 5% on everything we had before. And so adding bodies is probably not going to be a priority in the city at this time. If we could find funding, I know you said Lisa Baca earlier and stuff because her Latino leadership. We've used her kids in the past. In fact, Paul and I used to teach her classes for her from the park's perspective, and they actually helped us on a few things. But if we could find ways to fund that, that would be great. It just council had a philosophy, and I think it's still present there that not paying interns is not what they want to do. That if they're going to bring them in and they want to get good work out of them, they want to pay them.
Sure. I mean, I think that's great. Is there maybe something we can explore where some of the districts maybe that are from the local schools, LA Unified perhaps, I don't know if they have programs that maybe include some, video production or social media or anything like that. And maybe they can be compensated on that end and working for the city to gain, experience and whatnot. I mean, I think I get it. The money is definitely one of the things that's going to be a challenge, but I think there may be something that we can do if the district is able or willing to maybe compensate them somehow.
Actually, we've used that. If you saw the Centennial filming, that was actually Southgate High School.
Oh,
We've
okay.
used them on several of those type of things to bring their classes in. We bring them in as a unit, and the whole class puts on a production, like doing a filming for a Centennial project or doing a Azalea Festival social media blast setup for us. So we have used that in the past, and it usually doesn't always come through us. It comes through the admin department
Mm.
division.
Mhm.
But we do use that as part of our overall things. It's usually them coming to us. LAUSD has never been the greatest partner in the world, we'll say, at times. But we could also bring that up as part of, we meet with the principals
Yeah.
every month, and we can ask them if they have an interest in something like that.
Maybe you can pitch that hype video, right?
Yeah.
Maybe since we have a need for that. All right. So then also just in general, overall, out of everything that I saw here, I didn't see anything that had to do with like security around the park, making it a safer place for people. Is there anything that you can provide in terms of an update with regards to that and what has developed? I know that, we've been short rangers. I know that there's been rangers now hired, but what's the status with that and how does that fit into the goals and objectives that are upcoming?
Most of what you see in front of you are our programming goals and objectives and Glenn's field staffing goals and objectives. He has a overall force of 7 rangers, right, Glenn?
It's 6, 4 hourly, 2 full-time.
Right.
And we did have a test, I believe, this week for hiring more park rangers. So we have unfortunately lost, it really, got to think of it as they observe and report, and it's like a training ground for them. More often than not, they don't last but maybe a year or two and go on to work as a police officer or some other capacity within law enforcement. So it's a continuous rollover. So the thought was, a few years back, was to hire some full-timers. Well, at least keep those 2 on the majority of the time. They'll work the evening shifts, which is the most important shifts through a 7-day week process, the whole 7 days. The hourlies will cover mornings. So that's our goal. And so we have 1 right now. We recently lost 1, came back to PD. And so we hope to get the other positions filled within the next few months.
Right. We have 2 full-timers right now, right, Glenn?
Correct.
There's
So
also
we have filled both our
security
full-time.
company. There's a security company going too, right? Or is that just for events?
No, that was
They're no
only,
longer here, right?
we had a security company while we didn't have any rangers.
Oh,
We had 1 ranger working, and she's an hourly. So yeah,
Yeah, we had 1. And since that time, we've hired 2 full-timers. So it gives us some stability across the board and more knowledge of what's happening. So we have 2 full-time rangers and then 1 or 2 right now, full hourly.
1 hourly right now.
All right, 1 hourly. So we're 3 CSOs short, but we're better. At this time last year, we had 1
Yeah, we're-
total, 1 hourly total. So that was it. So we've increased that. It's just the complement of how many there are, we're not expecting that to change.
Okay. All right. And I guess regarding youth sports, like I know that AYSO handles the soccer, the JAA does the baseball and softball for youth. What do we expect from them in terms of, what the kids are getting, how that compares, I guess, with other communities and whether or not anything needs to be adjusted or changed with those programs?
All of those programs are AYSO, our Junior Athletic Association, and our Aquatics Club are all run by nonprofits, outside nonprofits. They are what we call partner organizations within the city. And as you said, AYSO oversees our soccer. Youth football is overseen by the Aztec program. Basketball and baseball, softball are overseen by the Junior Athletic Association. and the Aqua Coalition oversees the swimming teams, right? Each of those are granted partnership status, and they oversee our different programming across those boards. They run those within their own organizations, and unless there was a definite need, we have not looked at replacing any of them at
Okay.
this time.
I mean, and how would we determine whether there's a definite need, for example? I mean, just given that, other communities perhaps have different programming, they serve maybe different amount. I'm just trying to gauge, a comparison or using other communities as a comparison is always good to see, hey, are we above average, below average, on par with what other communities are offering? How do we determine that?
We haven't in a long time, gone out and done actual surveys of other cities. I can tell you from my own experience that we run larger leagues than almost any other SELA community around here in all of our youth baseball, basketball, and other programs. We're the big dog
Yeah.
in the area.
We're the
for-
standard.
for all of those portions. In fact, many of them have youth leagues, but they have 6 teams or 12 teams total.
Mhm.
And that's amongst all of their age groups, and so there's a variety of different ways. We know the different markets because we deal with all the recreation people from all the different cities. And I have not seen anywhere in this that we would be looking for or trying to supplement anything that we currently have.
Okay. That's so that would be in terms of size, right? I mean, we're the big dog in this area, for example, in terms of number of teams and participants. How does that compare, like with, let's say, with cost, for example, or I mean, yeah, I guess cost is a big thing, right? Like, how do we determine that and whether or not we're on par with other
Actually,
communities?
we don't. The organizations do. We don't micromanage their groups. And so the JA, which I can tell you is one of the lower price groups anywhere around for baseball or basketball and softball.
This is the
Yeah.
lowest.
But our swimming team uses the same, is under USS Swimming, which is the same organization that does every major swim group out here. So they're under the same guidelines across the board, cost-wise and all that. Our football program belongs to an overall organization that's cost in football is huge. Sorry, it just is. And their costs, vary from year to year depending on certain things, but they do their own parts there. But they belong to a Orange County Junior Athletic Association, I think is theirs, in group. And so, and AYSO is a national body. So their region, they have to follow the rules of all the rest of the region. So they're going to par out on the same. Now you will find that in some other cities, they have some more travel teams or competitive teams in something like soccer or something like that. But those aren't our goals in life. We're here for the recreation side of life, and we want to present them. We don't mind that some have travel teams. All of our groups have some sort of a travel program in them, but those aren't the priorities of the Parks and Recreation Department. We want the general public to play all those organized sports.
And I would say we definitely, like you said, we definitely set the bar for the SELA region, just because aside from all the partner groups that we have, we still offer internal youth sports, and we have our clinics and things like that we offer that get great numbers. So that's a lot of kids you're talking about when you're talking about our in-house clinics and youth sport leagues, and in addition to all of our partner organizations.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the partner organizations, I mean, they're ran by volunteer groups, and they're doing their own due diligence, making sure the programs are ran the right way, because if they're not, then they're not going to have any signups. They're not going to have people that want to participate in those programs. So they're the ones, as far as I know, they go out there and they do that part of it to check other cities, see how they compare. For example, if Downey is charging X amount of money for their program and it's $50 more than we're charging, plus they're having candy sales and having parents work in their snack bars and stuff like that, then it's an opportunity to say, okay, maybe they can raise a fee. But at this time, they don't raise a fee because it attracts more people by having them at a lower price. And so from what I know, that especially the JA, and that's what they do. They check the surrounding cities, Linwood, Southgate, Linwood, Cudahy, Downey, see how they compare, because
Wow.
that's the closest people that we can attract to our city.
Sure. Okay. Regarding the golf course and the schools, the high schools that are using those, what's the agreement with them? Is it similar to the high school baseball team, for example, and softball? And is it the same sort of understanding with the use of it?
Yeah, for all the high school sports, we run the same policy process, is that we allow free play to all of them. Softball, baseball, swimming, all of that. Our high schools use our facilities a lot, and we don't charge them at this point for anything. It's all
Okay.
free.
All right. I think that's pretty much it for me.
Good evening. I just have one question. Mr. Dominguez mentioned about being able to drink in the park. I know I have not been here around a lot, but I would like to know if that's happening, that it's allowed to drink in the park.
I missed the first part of the
Yeah.
question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I said that I've heard that they're allowing to drink around the park. Is that true, or?
She's referring to goals.
Yeah. For goals, you're
She
saying?
referred to
or-
the,
Yeah, for adult,
the
yeah.
liquor
Oh,
license
yeah.
from goals.
Yeah, not around the park, just at goals.
No, we have a public-private agreement where we call it goals. It's really
Oh,
So far.
So five.
SoFi Soccer
Mm.
is a private business that leases land from the city of Southgate, which is the soccer center there that
Oh,
has the 12 soccer fields. As part of their business model, they asked the Planning Commission for permission to include beer and wine sales as part of the overall process. They did this a year and a half ago, and at that time they were denied the application, but they came back last Thursday and received a positive approval for the use over there.
Okay. Is there like a time from this time to this time that it's allowed, or is just?
They use it as a business model. Their operation is allowed to sell alcohol from their opening till a half hour before their closing. The reality of it is they're not going to sell alcohol until the evenings or the afternoon evenings on the weekends, just because
Okay.
the business model wouldn't hold up for a number of people.
Okay.
The crowd from 8 a.m. until 3 o'clock is zero or negligible. You know, after that, the evening is open for them, and that's when they would use it.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Mr. Mike.
And I have a question regarding that, Steve. Can you explain, since, you know, the Parks and Rec Commission is their scope is Parks and Rec, is there a reason why that didn't come through the Parks and Rec Commission to discuss the SoFi request?
We've talked about this on past commission meetings. There are certain avenues and commissions that handle certain areas of things. We've talked about it with both council and for other commission. If another commission has the oversight of that activity, we don't review it here at the Parks and Rec Commission. Under the city's ordinances, the allowing of alcohol is all part of the Planning Commission, sorry. I was going to call it the CAC, but it's not the CAC, it's the Planning Commission, and that's their purview. So just as we don't overstep things that are council objectives, any other planning commission, CAC commission, we won't give the CDBG recommendations. We won't discuss those. We won't go into planning commission things because those are for the planning commission. If commissioners, our own commissioners, wish to go speak at something like that, they are fully encouraged to do it, but we concentrate on our objective areas, which are programming and stuff like that. The alcohol sales at SoFi Soccer Center falls under the purview of the Planning Commission, and thus we do not bring it to here.
Okay.
It's a zoning, yeah,
It's a private entity.
yeah, it's a CUP zoning aspect.
All right. I mean, I guess I understand that each commission has their sort of scope, right? Just in the interest of, let's say, transparency, I think that it's always good to have multiple, I guess, bodies sort of comment and provide, I guess, direction and
Well, yeah,
comments on that.
We see it, but that
Planning
it
Commission.
also leads into the confusion of who gets the authority to do it. And that's why we encourage our commissioners to join in on those discussions for those certain commissions. But we don't want, it becomes rather confusing all around if we decided no and they decided yes. And
Sure.
so
Yeah,
that's why, same thing with council meetings or CAC is we say, hey, yes, it's coming up, and we would encourage you to show up and promote our own views on it, or your own as a commissioner, but not, we don't go over it as a Parks and Rec commission.
Since this is kind of out of the topic we're on, I don't know. I kind of wanted to say something about this.
It's really not within what
yeah,
the
it's
item
not
is
on-
here.
It's not on here.
Yeah, so I don't know if I was gonna try and bring it up later at the
Open session, yeah.
comment session. I don't know if we can.
Yeah, you
continue
can
that.
do it then. It's really not part of this
Yeah.
item.
Yeah.
I mean, we've given the latitude. I love to give you guys latitude to ask those questions, but it's not part of the goals and objectives.
Well, since Mr. Dominguez brought it up, I was a little bit confused about it, so I just,
Right, that's okay.
But-
And I love to give you guys that leeway in some of it. I just make sure that, there's a certain point we gotta get back to the one we're on.
So if there's no more comments, can I get a motion to file?
This is Liz. I so move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. So I have a bit of an emergency. I need to step out. Vice Chair Ruiz will take over for me the rest of the session.
Okay?
Thank you, guys.
All right, so we could proceed with the next item.
And hold on one second. If you're not coming back, Merry Christmas.
Oh.
Alan, if you're not coming back, Merry Christmas. Sorry. Just wanted to make sure we told him that before he walked out the door. Yeah. There you go.
So item number 2, Ground Maintenance Division Annual Report.
Good evening, Commissioners. The following is a report of some of the accomplishments, the majority of accomplishments that the Grounds Division accomplished during this annual year. This is some of the things that are done above and beyond the ongoing routine maintenance of all of our parks. Grounds maintenance staff, as you see when you walk into the building here on the side, we planted 20 flats of gazania. We're going to put more. I'm encouraging my staff to use different planting methods and kind of fill in the whole thing. We planted 20 azaleas in the senior garden. My staff replaced 10 drinking fountains throughout the park, and we used the company called Most Dependable Fountain. That was quite an endeavor. I have a staff member that used to be a member of the street department, and he gained a lot of skills. He worked for us, then he went to Public Works, and he came back. Now he's a senior grounds maintenance worker, but brought a lot of skills. He, in some cases, had to replace the entire slab for the drinking fountains, and between him and my irrigation guy / mechanic, they put in 10 drinking fountains. I'm very proud of them. We continue with our turf reseeding program to fill in various bare spots throughout the parks. We also, I didn't add this in, but we did accomplish pruning all the trees at Southgate Park. Hopefully next month, I'll get our contractor to trim the trees at Hollydale Regional Park. We did get a few, with some of the remaining funds from this year, we're able to get some of the bigger ficus trees that were on the north end of the park trimmed at Hollydale Regional Park. We are still working with tree people. They tend to plant 20 trees at a time when they come. And whenever they can't fill vacancies within the streets, they will then come to the park and give us more trees. I think we're around 120 trees planted in this cycle so far. Hopefully soon we'll get even more. We did a lot of irrigation work, as you see, with all sorts of different things, irrigation heads, valves, mainline irrigation pipes repaired. We also helped the fence contractor because we did have to move a lot of irrigation lines because of the mow strips that were added in various areas, especially the large quad. We installed a large French drain near the picnic shelters on the north side of the park where we were having some flooding issues. Ball washers were replaced at the golf course. My staff put 2 new sand bunkers in, and we relocated T number 1 back to where it originally was, and poured a concrete slab for that. Annually, we also aerified the greens, reseed them, and top dress them with the sand and mulch mix. We also renovate the diamonds. We're doing that right now as part of the next fiscal year process. Gopher abatement's ongoing. We have a mulching program to increase soil fertility that's done on a quarterly basis. We just finished the north end of Southgate Park and the west side parks the past month. And to discourage vehicles driving near restroom number 4, we always have a problem because it's a turn and people tend to cut through, or the restroom guy tends to park on the grass while he's cleaning the restroom. And so we did some modifications in the area, put a pole and put a boulder and realigned it, put some decomposed granite. It seems to be working very well. And I'm more than happy to take any questions if you have.
Just regarding some of the concerns I brought about the equipment replacement for some of the playgrounds, is that something that you guys were able to do with the swings and?
That's ongoing, and that's typically we will report it to Public Works. They also, Public Works staff come and routinely take a look at them and make repairs. But yes, that's a constant and ongoing.
Got it.
It takes, just to keep in mind, it takes 4 to 8 weeks to get, once we make the order to receive a part, because they don't keep, the plastic or metal parts lying around. It's manufactured.
So you have to order it
Yeah,
individually.
it takes time.
Got it. No, that's good to know. I just wasn't sure where or who to, bring some of the issues up. I don't know if that's something that park staff routinely look at to see what's broken down and whether an order is made right away. I know that in the past there have been complaints from the public about things taking long, but like you said, I know that sometimes some of these materials are on back order for long periods of time.
One of the other things that happens is we can go and install a playground, and then maybe next year, the year after, the state comes along and says, oh, we're going to change some of how these, say for instance, fall zones, or some of the gaps in between rails and the floors, that all changes. And so then some parts become obsolete, some slides. So there's modifications that have to be made. And so when that occurs, then it takes more time for us to get these parts replaced. So that sometimes helps. That's a holdup. I mean,
Got it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. We'll open this for public comment.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm reading the item report, and it says that the tree people of Los Angeles are going to grant, or the city's going to get 200 trees for a tree grant for Southgate Park and the West Side Parks. Okay, so Mr. Massey and Mr. Costley, I said this before, I'm going to say it again. I want some of these trees. It said in the item report, you can get 200 trees from the tree people of Los Angeles. So you can put 4 or 5 trees at Triangle Park. I love that little park. You guys have been neglecting the hell out of it. Just put 4 or 5 trees. And the tree that specifically that I fell in love with, Chinese elm. Are you familiar? You're familiar with Chinese elm?
I'm not planting Chinese elm anymore because of an insect that's out there that's called shuttle borer.
Oh my God.
And what it does is it drills actually from one end to the other all the way through and weakens the branches and they collapse. That's why if you look at some of the Chinese elms at Southgate Park, they will not be there within the next 5 years.
Oh, why is that? They're going to
Because
be
of
eaten
that
up?
insect. Yes, they collapse.
So within 5 years, that tree is going to be dead if
You're
it's
not going
infected.
to see that many of them. Sycamores also, the large sycamores throughout the park. If you look at for instance, the picnic area, that's why they're not there anymore. They were decimated by that pest.
Mr. Massey, you're breaking my heart because in front of our
I'm
house,
sorry.
that's what we have is a Chinese. I'm in love with this thing. There was a gentleman by the name of Caesar. He's in Public Works,
Mhm.
and he came out when they were doing the tree trimming, and then I was begging him, please don't cut this tree. He said, I'm sorry, we got to cut it. So they came and they cut it, and he's telling me because it hasn't reached maturity yet. It's going to take like 15 years, and I'm in love with this tree. And then I was like, please, you got to put this in Triangle Park. But you're telling me no, it's off. It's on the. It's okay. So then the other one, the only one left is the crepe myrtle. So that's the other one that we have, but it's not the pretty one with the flowers. It's just the green bushy one. But yeah, if you could put more trees in Triangle Park, that's my pitch for that. And then what is a French drain? You guys put one on the north side where the
Correct.
picnic areas are. So what is a French drain?
A French drain, essentially, you dig a large hole in the ground, you put a structure, say for instance, we use old plastic pipes. You sink that down approximately 6 feet, you fill it full of gravel, then you put a grate over it, and then you put decomposed granite, sand, whatever, over that, so that water that pools in a low spot will then go into that drain as opposed to standing on top of the soil. We have them in front of the auditorium.
And where does that water end up going?
Percolates down into the ground.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Do you have any questions for my fellow commissioners? No. I did have another question related to the native garden areas that were added to Hollandale Regional.
Mhm.
Are there any plans to do more projects like that throughout the other parks? Or is that kind of more dependent on funding? Because I think that was
Okay, I've been working with been speaking with the Conservation Corps about enhancing the one garden that is at the one at Circle and then the one that's near the playground at Hollandale Regional Park. If there's any others, I'm not sure. I mean, because we are so impacted with sports activities, it's kind of a challenge. You know, we try to put those in areas that aren't really used for passive park usage and areas that are not impacted by sports activities. So as you can imagine, we're heavily impacted by.
Yeah, no, I think those are really good kind of like showcase areas to really promote that kind of I guess just the beauty and that kind of landscaping. And that's one thing I appreciate about Hollandale Regional was just that kind of connection to nature, like with the signs that were posted. And I think you guys replaced them recently, right? Or fixed them? Because I know they were getting tagged on and stuff,
Yeah.
like the nature signs and stuff.
They get wet too.
Yeah, but no, that's all. Just to keep those in mind. I think those are really good opportunities for local community folks to really see the beauty in some of that kind of landscape. And I mean, I think we're almost forced to do that lately, right? Just to conserve water and meet those kind of goals.
Yeah. You know, speaking about that, it seems as though the community's kind of split. You know, when you take a poll of, you know, when my staff interact with the public quite often, they are kind of just, they're really ingrained to Mediterranean style plants. And so, because they're green, they're lush, they're shiny, they're pretty. And a lot of people think that native plants are ugly versus the other side of the coin. You have a large segment of the population that like native plants. So for me, I love native plants, but I used to be an avid hiker. And so I kind of took the model of some of the local hiking areas here by Mount Wilson.
Yeah.
And kind of that's where we started with over by the horse corrals. And unfortunately, some of it didn't last, but
Yeah, they're really finicky too.
Yeah,
The
they
sad
are,
part
and that
for being
is-
native.
yeah, they are. Well, and the other challenge is if you have an area that's just open and you're just planting native and you do decomposed granite and boulders, it's going to do great. But if you have it intermingled with areas that are, say, for instance, turf that requires more water, their cycles are different because
Yeah.
the winter time is the time that they get all their water, and then the summertime is actually their winter time, and they don't grow that much. So it's the spring, fall time frames that you're going to see more activity with natives versus your Mediterranean plants. No, it's going to be more during the warm season, you know, not so much during the cool season. So their needs are the exact opposite.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
but along with even some of the suggestions about tree plantings, I always push for strawberry trees. I think they're very shade providing and they're beautiful, and especially at parks where the fruit doesn't make much of a difference, I guess. I
Yeah.
know that, people plant them in streets and then sometimes people complain because of the fruit, but
Mhm.
I think parks are a perfect place for something pretty and just visually appeasing.
Yeah, that's true. We have a Mysore fig, just one. It's over by Diamond 9. And so
Yeah.
if you go there right now, don't walk around it because the fruit's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's all. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And next is
You need a motion to,
oh, can I get a motion to file?
Yeah, motion?
Second.
Second that.
Can we get a vote?
Yes.
they all in
Aye.
favor.
All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
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 Sweet. All right, so next is the director's report, and calendar of events.
I'll leave part of it for Tina. I'll take part of it. Commissioners should know it's been a crazy busy season here. We've done a lot of things since our last meeting. Completed some projects, did some other things. On the project side, we did do the finals and returned the retention. The fencing project is done at this point. There's a lot of good things. If you haven't been to the park, come on over, take a look at all the new fencing. It makes the park look significantly better. It just does. And so that's been done. Since our last meeting, we held our Thanksgiving Rotary dinner. They served upward between 600 and 800 people at the auditorium on Thanksgiving Day. Had prizes, raffles, different things throughout it. So another exceptional day there that we helped out with. And then we just completed the Pageant of the Trees. Was this Saturday. Part of the Youth Commission thing that helps a lot of our programming and other things. Was a great event. I don't know who was there. Liz was there. You were there, right? Good event. We raised a lot of good money at it. Had trouble selling the puppy, but besides the puppy, we did pretty good at the whole thing. It's a beautiful event in the city. If you haven't seen the decorations, the trees, the overall ambiance, and the band make it just a very good night there. So another very successful night at that. And then on the project side, before our next meeting, we will be opening up Hollydale Community Park. Estimated time frame is somewhere mid-January. We will get final dates and times from the contractor when we get that much closer. Every project that you do, when it's a big project like this, it costs millions of dollars. You get everything done, and then you kind of walk through on what's called a punch list and just say, hey, oh, we got to paint that, we got to fix that, that's cracked, and do all that. So that always determines part of the final timeline on it, but we're that close that we know it should be mid-January that we're going to put that one together. We will be pulling together a grand opening for that. It may be a faster one than we think, because what we don't want to do is leave the park built but locked, because it'll get visited, and we'd rather just open the gates. So please know that Anna will contact you all on that as to be our guest as part of it. And it'll probably, we have to figure out times and dates. That goes with the contractor too. So all of those have taken place, plus many, many other things as of late, and I'll let Tina hit up a few of those.
All right, I think since we last met, or actually I'll start off with the Parks Master Plan. I think Steve already kind of mentioned it, but very excited that we received 6 submissions. One of them is going to be excluded, but so we'll end up with 5, but nevertheless, 5, good companies that we have to choose from, and just excited for that. And then since we last met, we had our reptile night, our family night, which was went off very well. Nice photos of all the kids lined up holding this huge snake, and it was kind of cool just to see all these little ones right there all holding it up, and I know all the families were really enjoyed it, and I think the next family night will be coming up the beginning of next year sometime. So just keep that on your radar. It'll probably be another family game night type of thing again. And then moving forward, we had recently our Winter Wonderland event this last a week ago. That went off very well. All the staff did an amazing job. It was a good partnership with our PD. I think for the most part, everything was well attended, well organized. I think no matter how much we try, the toy line will always be the toy line. But nevertheless, we issued out about 1,000 toys. We had 900 wristbands that were issued out. And I think there was anybody left in the line also grabbed the last few. So it was about 1,000 toys that were given out to the community. And just within this last weekend or within the last week, I can't even count how many toys have been issued out from the city, whether it was through the chamber or through PD or Santa Cop or whatever it was. So that's just awesome to say, just as a city, just how well it supports the residents and the community. Also, right after Thanksgiving, we had that golf tournament that I was telling you about earlier. It was our second one that we offered. And again, just the numbers increased. Everybody was very happy. And it was a foursome tournament. And, people won their awards for winning the tournament. And everybody just said, when's the next one? So again, that's always a good sign that people wanting to come back for more. This weekend, we have our Breakfast with Santa at the auditorium. That's a sold out event. So we hope to see you all there. And yeah, staff are all ready and staff have done a great job of changing some things up and adding a couple things to it. So looking forward to that. And then right after that event starts at 9:00. And in the afternoon, we have our Surfing with Santa event at the pool, which is another just fun event. This is the second year they're doing that. I believe they're not sold out yet. So if you still want to attend, you can probably register for that. And, take the kids down there. Snowball fight, Surfing with Santa, games, and arts and crafts. So that should be a fun event. And then lastly, just so that you guys know, we have implemented the QR code twice already since we last met. We did it for Halloween, and then we also did it for Winter Wonderland so that people can give us their feedback on the event and what they want to see. And so I haven't had the time to sit there and look at all the responses yet or to see how many we received, but looking forward to seeing what people have to say. So I think that's...
And with that, just so you know, Tina's a little modest in life, but she started Winter Wonderland last year, and we had about 1,000 people show up for Winter Wonderland. Our tree lighting originally had about 110 people, right, Glenn? Before Tina showed up and instituted Winter Wonderland, we had about 1,000. This year, it went to 2,500. It's a huge event out here. We closed the streets. We did a lot out there. So she's changed the tree lighting into something, a major event in the city. And without many hiccups at all. I mean, there were questions about bracelets, but every kid got a toy. I was there. I watched them go through the line. They gave out toys aplenty. And then we were essential across the board on this year's Christmas parade that ended at Southgate Park. We're still going to do an evaluation on that one, but it came down Southern Avenue due to the construction this year. We had the Santa's Village on Diamonds 9 and 10. As Tina said, we gave out a ton of toys there, but another big event, and the parade was actually heavily attended up and down Southern. So another good event. So as you can tell, we've been quite the busy beavers across the board here. And then last part to go with that is that we are open the break between Christmas and New Year's. So basically, administrative operations closes the 19th is the last day, right, Anna?
Yeah.
And then from that day forward, we'll have hourly staff running programs and cleaning restrooms and doing stuff. And then we'll be back in service for the most part January 6th. So
The only days that we are closed will be on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
right, those 4 days are closed, but the rest are operated throughout with our frontline hourly staff. And then Glenn, what do you have?
Well, as I stated earlier, we started ball field renovation. Diamond 8 should be done tomorrow. And we pruned all the roses at the rose garden adjacent to the auditorium. That's all I have to report.
So next is the Parks and Recreation Commission Subcommittee reports.
There are none. There's no subcommittees.
Nothing.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, the next item, the Commission Subcommittee reports, but
That's if you guys have anything you want to add to anything right now.
well, I guess this is where I kind of wanted to bring up the SoFi issue that my colleagues here brought up earlier. I am part of the Planning Commission and was part of the discussion on that CUP. And so my only request, and I brought this up at the last council meeting, was to really push for park rangers to increase security. I think the community members that attended the meeting had a lot of valid concerns, and I feel like we've all seen their concerns. You know, the drinking, the drug use, and sometimes it's so blatant, and I think that's the alarming part, and that's why I really see the residents' point of view and concerns about, you know, even bringing more alcohol to the park. But I also see the need for greater response from PD and park rangers. I know that our hands are tied because of some of the laws that have passed, but I think, you know, hopefully now that we, you know, when we get fully staffed, I'm hopeful that there will be a bigger push and more reconnaissance at the parks to really push that away and discourage the tailgating. During the presentation, SoFi kind of made that, and some of the letters made that point that tailgating decreased at their Covina location. And so I'm hopeful, I'm, you know, I might be naive, but I'm hopeful that'll be the case here, that their staff will help, you know, make that happen. I did one of the reasons I voted no was because I wasn't satisfied with their security. I didn't realize from the materials that they weren't going to be full-time security. And so I don't know if that's something that can change in the future. But I know that you're going to be on top of it for us, right?
Right.
Steve?
Part of the, without going over the whole thing, because it's not an agendized item, and as we have already discussed this part, we're not agendizing in that thing. But part of it is, and part of the concessions we got back from them, a normal restaurant, if you went to a Chili's on Tweedy Boulevard, whatever is there, right? Their normal usage does not require security guards just because they serve alcohol. None of the restaurants would, right? And so that's not a normal concept in life. But the added part for this is that we've been given the flexibility that through the Director of Parks and Recreation and my staff, if we find that anything has changed significantly within the area around SoFi and it's become worse, we don't have to wait for a community development meeting. We don't have to wait for that. The authority is in part of the overall CUP has been given to my office to say, hey, it's going wrong. We can make changes then. So it's one of the parts that was given to the process. We agree in talking with the police department together, we agree that the tailgating and some of the outside stuff will subside because no one needs to bring the ice chest full of Modelo's if you can buy it inside. Yeah, it may cost you $1 or $2 more, but you're not hanging around the parking lot. You get to sit in a chair and watch the soccer game. And knowing that I know some of the other goals places, whatever they're called, SoFi Goal at the other location, and they have truly found that, you know, that's part of the deal. And we agree with them in that concept. But we do have the authority now as part of the CUP, which was one of the agreements, is that if that should go anywhere sideways, and we find through our park rangers or anything else that it's not happening, we have the authority now to call them and say, hey, we're going to require X, Y, Z.
One other thing that came to mind too, and I don't know when we can revisit this, but the idea that pedestrians are often, put in danger because of that driveway next to the golf course. And I've seen it too. I run that path, and being that, there aren't too many paths to run, I don't know if there's been that discussion on how to make that safer, whether there's been a discussion on running paths, creating running paths that are, actually put in place to be safe for runners to use instead of maybe using the sidewalks.
Actually, we have. If you go throughout the middle of the park, you will see maps that show running paths throughout the interior of the park that show different mile distances. You can legitimately run, never cross the sidewalks or the parking lots, and run certain mileages within the park on the jogging paths that we have. It's just that this has been a 60, 70-year tradition in Southgate. I mean, think about it. For those who have been here, do you know what direction they're running? I guarantee you we can all figure out which direction they're running, because we couldn't turn them around if we had to. We tried to. Back in the day, we tried to. We tried to move them on to the jogging path, and we tell people, there's jogging paths here.
I feel like I've been through every inch. I didn't even know there were.
When we rebuilt large sections of the park, area phase 3 and 4 of the whole park master plan was to put jogging paths in, and we do right in front of the tennis courts. There's a jogging path. It connects to right in front of the sports center, goes around the picnic area, the whole thing. You can run. There's a mile path. There's a half-mile path, 3/4 mile path, all listed. You know how often they're jogged?
Yeah, rarely.
Yeah, and so it's that I don't know that anyone's going to have the ability to move them off of the street. That's just, that seems to be the pattern of runners here in Southgate.
Well, at least we know there's that option for people that are, concerned about safety.
Now we had it published a number of times in our brochures and told people, in fact, even when we first put them in, we had people out there telling people, jogging path, and they all went, no. But I think it would not be a bad idea, maybe in the spring or summer catalog, that we throw in the map and tell people, hey, you can go here. So we can look at that.
That's always a good option. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. And to that point, actually, would it be possible maybe because I know like the driveway that's by the golf course that has the DG path that then crosses the driveway and continues. I mean, would it be possible to perhaps add a sign there that says, caution cars? I mean, we know that there are cars coming through there, but as people are running and doing those kind of things, I mean, I think maybe a sign just kind of bringing it up again, saying, hey, at the same time, the pedestrian does have the right of way. And so those are things that we have to, I know we have to juggle and try to keep everyone safe, right? But I don't know, maybe a sign at those crossing points would be good, because to my colleague's point, the safety is I think what everyone is most concerned about, and mostly all the time when it's a vehicle versus a pedestrian, the pedestrian's going to be on the losing end of that. So I think that might be something that we can perhaps consider and add at the driveways, just to make sure that we're warning and letting people know that.
And there's a whole lot of legal that goes with that. I don't have all the answers to that one off the part. While we could look at something like that, you have to remember you have to include the whole park in that.
Sure.
It can't just be, you can't put one sign at the golf course and then not answer if someone runs in front of you in front of the sports center.
Right.
Or what happens when they run behind the angled parking, which they do, right? Sometimes they're 3 deep in the street.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, that's that's like you said, it's been years and years of tradition that people do that. I'm glad that there hasn't been, many accidents that
Right.
happened, but now adding another layer of sort of just things happening in the park, I think it's maybe something that
We
be
can look
considered.
at that. There's legal aspects that go with traffic safety that we have to look at. Because if you put them up, you have to put them on the rest of the city.
Sure,
So I don't know those answers, but we can at least look at the question.
absolutely.
Right.
That just to say that I really do hope that this works out. I mean, I see those sales, the alcohol sales, as a good funding opportunity, revenue bringer, and even having it done at even maybe even for the golf course. I mean, people love top golf. Why not bring something like that here if we can? If it proves to be compatible with SoFi, then
One step at a time.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I won't hold my breath, but we'll see.
Okay.
One can dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
So requests for items or future agendas on the future agendas?
I would just like an update on that QR code response. I'm curious to see what people would have responded and how, I guess, how that information is going to be used to sort of determine what's going to happen going forward and, adjustments that take place with programming. I think that's a good thing. And I'm glad I appreciate that you guys, jumped on that and started using it. I think that's crucial, right? The more information is available, I think the better planning and programming can go. So thank you for that, and I look forward to hearing the results.
Any other requests? No? Alrighty. So now to adjourn. Just thank you everybody and hope everybody has safe Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys on Saturday.
Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Same. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at, oh my gosh.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned at 8:48.